Hello there, welcome to my views and news. For the last 2 to 3 days, several viewers have been asking questions about Eritrean military intervention in Somalia in support of Somalia's government against Ethiopia. A few hours ago, a journalist based in Somaliland claimed that Eritrean military has arrived in Mogadishu. I want to address these rumors and claims. Is Eritrea has Eritrea decided to involve militarily in Somalia? Has Eritrean military arrived in Somalia or not? We'll try to find answers to these important questions. So much is being said and spread by Somali activists from Somaliland, Somalia, that we must be very careful in reporting. Both sides are sharing unverified information. New narratives are being built. So you must be extra careful before drawing conclusions. Let's analyze Eritrea first. Eritrea-Somalia relations. We must not forget that Eritrea is Somalia's ally. Eritrea is training Somalia's forces. And Somalia's forces are being trained in several other countries too. I think Turkey trained Somalia's military, US too, Egypt as well, Eritrea too. But Eritrea trained Somalia's soldiers are very skilled. And that is why Somalia is looking towards Eritrea for more training of its soldiers. More soldiers are being sent to Eritrea. And Eritrean military trainers are known in the region for their skills. They train groups, armed groups. Eritrea has a track record of training groups in Ethiopia, from South Sudan, from Sudan, and now Somalia. Eritrea has been training armed factions, but now it is training soldiers, government soldiers. So Eritrean military trainers have long experience of training fighters, soldiers from abroad. And in the 2-year-long Tigray war, we saw that Eritrea trained Amhara special force members. And those Amhara special force members have joined Fano now. Fano, which is becoming a challenge, difficult to handle for Ethiopian military. So, first point is that Eritrea is Somalia's key ally in terms of training of Somalia's forces. But can we say that Eritrea is Somalia's defense ally? Or that Egypt is Somalia's defense ally? Can we say that? The two countries, Eritrea and Somalia, have not signed any defense pact so far. I think Somalia has not signed any defense pact with Egypt as well. It's not that attack on Somalia will be seen as attack on Eritrea, or attack on Somalia will be seen as attack on Egypt, because the three countries have not reached any defense agreement so far, which they might reach. By the way, Sisi has invited both Isas Afwerki and Hassan Sheikh to Cairo. If the three leaders meet in Cairo and a defense agreement is signed, that would be a big challenge for Ethiopia, because it means that if Somalia comes under attack from Ethiopia, Egypt and Eritrea would support Somalia. So far, I don't think there is any security or defense pact between Somalia and Egypt, Eritrea. But there are defense ties, security ties between Ethiopia and Eritrea, Ethiopia and Egypt. The Somaliland-based journalist claims that 800 Eritrean soldiers have been airlifted to Mogadishu. And he claimed that armor, tanks have also been sent to Mogadishu from Eritrea. Obviously, evidence is missing. African Union's peacekeeping mission is in charge of key installations in Somalia. I don't think that Mogadishu airport is under the sole control of Somalia's military. If Eritrea is sending its forces and tanks to Mogadishu airport, how can it remain hidden from African Union's peacekeeping mission? It cannot remain hidden. So 800 soldiers and then military equipment arrival in Mogadishu cannot remain hidden. So the report seems to be either false or exaggerated. Having said that, presence of Eritrean military trainers in Somalia has been confirmed. I think months ago, before the start of this new escalation between Ethiopia and Somalia, I reported about the presence of Eritrean military trainers in Somalia. Just like when Turkey sells its drones to countries, Turkey sends drone operators to. Turkey sends drone technicians to. So Turkey ensures that drones are used in an effective manner. That is how business flourishes. So Turkey ensures a proper, effective use of its drones, TB2s, by sending its drone operators, technicians regularly to the countries which buy drones from Turkey. Eritrea sends its trainers so that the use of Eritrea trained soldiers is ensured by the trainers. Trainers are in Somalia. How many are there? Difficult to say. How many are they in Mogadishu or other parts of Somalia? It's difficult to say. 8, by the way, Eritrea does not share border with Somalia. So deployment, large-scale deployment of Eritrean military to Somalia perhaps is not possible. It will have huge logistical expenditure. Eritrea cannot afford. Somalia cannot afford to invite tens of thousands of Eritrean soldiers as well. Practically, it's not possible. There must be a third party to and airlifting of thousands of soldiers from Somalia to Eritrea, from Eritrea to Somalia. It will have a huge cost. So if this is the situation, and if Eritrea decides to support Somalia militarily, what can Eritrea do? Eritrea intervention in Tigray was different. Tigray shares border with Eritrea, and maybe Eritrea saw TPLF as a threat, direct threat. So it intervened. It sent its forces across the border because border was shared. Here, things different. Eritrea cannot send tens of thousands of soldiers to Somalia, but Eritrea can send those top officers, mid-level commanders who can prepare the plans, who can make the strategies, who can chalk out the entire military plan about how to stop Ethiopia, how to frustrate Ethiopia. That can happen. So, arrival of a few dozen Eritrean military officers would be sufficient for Somalia. These military officers wouldn't be fighting on front lines, obviously. They'll only chair meetings, they'll only command major units, and they'll make big decisions. That can happen. That will happen, I'm sure, if there is direct confrontation militarily between Ethiopia and Somalia. In one or the other form, Eritrea will involve itself, but not the way it involved itself in Tigray. No. Intervention will be a different type. Eritrea already training Somalia soldiers. You can say it could be a Sudan-like intervention where Eritrea has not sent its military, though Sudan shares border with Eritrea. But Eritrea is training fighters from Hadendawa tribe of eastern Sudan, Mini Minawi's group from Darfur, and some other groups. At least four groups, soldiers, fighters of four groups are being trained in Eritrea. They're from Sudan. So Eritrea intervening there in the form of proxy war. Here too, in Somalia, no large scale intervention, direct intervention of Eritrea is expected. Intervention will happen, by the way. Don't think that Eritrea will stay aloof. No, it will involve itself. But what will it get in return from Somalia? Obviously, Eritrean intervention in Sudan is a decision made by the government, because government believes, written government, that it should keep RSF away from its borders. It does not want RFs to be in control of eastern Sudan. Why would Eritrea intervene in Somalia? To corner Ethiopia, to support Somalia. For that, Eritrea will have to make a decision. Why does it want to involve in Somalia? Should it go too deep in its rivalry against Ethiopia to support Somalia? It's a very important question. I think in one or the other form, Eritrea will intervene. No direct intervention. People would say, Sajid, the Ethiopian soldiers are going to be kicked out from Somalia and Eritrea will replace Ethiopian soldiers. Not very likely. I think tens of thousands, around 18, 17,000 ENDF soldiers are deployed to Somalia. And then thousands are part of the African Union peacekeeping mission as well. How can Eritrea overnight replace these Ethiopian soldiers? Ethiopian soldiers are deployed to Somalia under a bilateral arrangement and as part of African Union peacekeeping mission too. It cannot happen overnight. And presence of Ethiopian soldiers in Somalia is beneficial for Somalia as well, to stop Al-Shabaab from expanding. I don't see Eritrea replacing all ENDF soldiers on Ethiopia-Somalia border. It will lead to direct escalation between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Ethiopia will not allow deployment of thousands of Eritrean soldiers on its border. Eritrea won't do that, I think. Only possibility is that Eritrean planners, trainers, top officers could be sent to Somalia. Key security installations could come under Eritrean control. That could happen. So still, I think Mogadishu airport is not under Somalia's military control. I think, and other key institutions too. Just a few days ago, we heard that Villa Somalia and Somalia's parliament came under full control of Somalia's forces. It happened just a few days ago. It means all top installations in Mogadishu are not being secured by Somalia's forces. Rather, African Union troops are there in Somalia. So we must be very careful analyzing the situation in Somalia, situation between Ethiopia and Somalia. Rumors are being spread as if Eritrea has sent tens of thousands or thousands of soldiers to Somalia to support Somalia's military capabilities against Ethiopia. It has not happened so far. If it happens, it won't remain hidden. Everyone is monitoring what is happening in Somalia. US there too. US conducts strikes there very frequently. If US is aware of the movement of Al-Shabaab fighters in Somalia, so do you think that US would not be aware of the movement of Eritrean soldiers in arrival of Eritrean soldiers in Somalia? No. US will definitely get information. Maybe the first to get information would be US. Let's wait. Rumors being spread, but people should be careful. Let's not beat the drums of war. Let's hope that situation somehow is diffused and talks start. Thank you for watching.